Hey, Lana Ray here, and welcome to my next video. If you haven't seen my intro on the public reveal, then go to YouTube or Rumble, and I will be on there under my personal name, Lana Ray, last name R-E-A, and also Patriot Resource Network on Rumble. This is going to be video 2. I'm going to get started pretty quick. Be sure and subscribe, follow on either YouTube or Rumble, and hit the notification button so you can get all of these videos. I'm going at a really fast pace right now to get these all out. I'm going to be doing a variety of outlining um, the president's speeches, his cabinet, um, giving you just a basic outline and what it means, in my opinion. You may not think that we can figure out some of these things, but if you've been paying attention behind the scenes for 6 to 10 years, there is a lot of connections that we can put together on this. And so the first big thing that just happened that kind of inspired me to start down this route is the presidential speech from last Thursday, July 16th. July 16th, 2026. And there was major points in this that President Trump gave and actions to be taken, and he's actually started the process of of filing charges and prosecution. So the first thing I want to talk about, Executive Order 13848, titled Imposing Certain Sanctions in the Event of Foreign Interference in a United States Election. It was signed by President Donald Trump on September 12, 2018. Okay, this is a done thing. And the Biden, whoever that was for 4 years, he never got rid of this. He never removed this, or he continued it. Okay, he continued it. Why would he do that? Okay, so why would the President Biden guy continue this executive order? It's still in play, guys. That should tell us something. That should tell us something was off with 2020, the whole 4 years of watching this guy. But anyway, here is the outline of this executive order. It declares a national emergency regarding the threat of foreign interference in U.S. elections, including cyber attacks, propaganda, and disinformation campaigns. Which, we're going to talk about that. All of this has happened. And we know who's done all this stuff, some of it. It requires the Director of National Intelligence to access within 45 days after a U.S. election whether a foreign government or its agents interfered in that election. It requires the Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security to prepare a report evaluating the impact of any foreign interference and whether election infrastructure or political organizations were affected. If foreign interference is determined, the order authorizes economic sanctions, including blocking property and restricting transactions involving foreign persons or entities responsible for or complicit in the interference. Big one right there. And Trump, in his speech Thursday, is telling us that, telling us who did what, who knew what, who they've caught, and he's commanding his administration to find it, find them, fire the people if necessary. Well, fire the people, and if necessary, file charges and prosecute. And of course, today, the current acting director of national intelligence is Bill Pulte. He was appointed June 2026 after Tulsi Gabbard resigned. Right now, we think he's staying. There was a nomination of this Jay Clayton, but as far as I know right now, and this is just where I'm at, the Senate's not confirming him. My understanding is Bill Pulte is in the role right now. Let's talk about Bill Pulte for just a moment. Let me tell you what he's done, because people are saying, especially the left side, I hate these sides, but what do you call everybody? So the Democrats, or the far left, I mean, there's so many degrees of people now. They think he's not qualified to be the director of intelligence, because of his past jobs. But I mean, you got to think about what this guy knows, what he's seen, what he has found out over the years, what he's been involved with, what groups of people. So he's been in equity investments, acquiring and investing in businesses. He was on the board of the nation's largest home builders group, Pulte Group. He became well known for giving money directly to people through social media. He also founded the Blight Authority, a nonprofit focused on removing abandoned homes and improving neighborhoods. In March 2025, he was confirmed by the Senate as director of the FHFA, the agency that oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and the federal home loan banks. I think this is key. And I mean, guys, I don't know the level of intelligence on this whole thing. I'm not an investment guru. I'm reading what's being said on internet about him. Okay, so you guys can find this same information, but common sense, because I think that majority of the American people, if you're paying any attention at all, has what's called common sense. I think people can figure out strategy and connections, and that's what we're doing. And this is why I think the whole 17th letter of the alphabet, which I'm going to be on YouTube, guys, and they call that fluff tube, but it's a little still a little bit picky about certain words still. And of course, I had my YouTube channel shut down back in 2020, probably 2021, when I was doing all this. And I understand the dilemma. He knows a lot about banking, about financial institutions, investments, and he has probably seen a lot of names. And he is probably now investigating a lot of names in the financial world, the investment world. I just think I think that he's much more aware of possible intelligence undercover operations than what we might think. Um, I say that executive order because of what Trump talked about on Thursday night. And I'm going to go through these points pretty quickly. So, major points, actions to be taken now, because he's actually making a statement to his administration to start investigate, to continue investigating, but he's giving the order, is what I'm trying to say. He's giving orders to his administration in the public primetime news slot. Okay, so to me, this is the start of public reveal. This is what we've been waiting for 6 years. He does not want us to ever watch another stolen election where people have been bought off and equipment has been hacked, and he's also stating that this should not be a partisan issue, that every person in America should want a fair election, fair and accurate, honest. President Trump states that this will not be allowed to continue. Corrupted elections will not be allowed to continue. Okay, so this is going to be dealt with. I believe this is the start of the public reveal. I believe it's a part of our deliverance from the corruption overall in our nation. And I believe that it will filter and connect to every other country that has these corrupted controllers. You may have heard the word cabal, you may have heard the word elites. They're criminals and they own the majority of the wealth of the entire world. Over time, this is how they have evolved. So this is a global takedown. That's why it involves military collaboration with other countries. That's another video. We are the sovereign people, the people of the Constitution. We really should be in charge of our country, and we vote for people to represent us in national strategy and organization of the country's best interest. That's what should be happening. And I do believe that this overall operation, which I spoke to in my intro, I believe this is a military operation and that we are connected with other country leaders that also want their country delivered from these corrupted, controlling people, groups. I believe we're returning to the Republic, to the Constitution, because we have not been under it, or this would have never been allowed. Okay, so one bullet point is that President Trump talked about the CIA had proof of Maduro cheating in his 2020 election in Venezuela. Imagine that. Like, we didn't know that. Yeah, we knew that. And so back, well, how long's it been? A month, 2 months? I don't know the exact date, but you can find it, where by some chance, our military, out of the blue, went over to Venezuela, and we were able to go into Maduro's, I guess, his home, and we were able to take him and his wife out of their bedroom and fly them over to the United States, and now we have them. I don't know what to say about that, but you know, I mean, this is a guy that is like been involved. I mean, we have him connected to Dominion machines and Smartmatic software. I mean, he's been stealing elections supposedly for decades. And, you know, Sidney Powell, which, you know, she was one of the first attorneys in 2020, you know, and she's been in, you know, been prosecuted and all this stuff. And now, in the last probably month, she's been released of all charges on her talking smack about Dominion machines and Smartmatic. She knows all the stuff on that. I think there's a lot more that's going to be revealed about Sidney Powell by the time this thing keeps going. She's probably going to be brought in for something good, because I really kind of think she's been playing a big role, just not in the news. But anyway, we've got Maduro and everything. So let me ask you, if we took him and we now have him, did he talk about election fraud, about the machines, about the hardware, about what's inside the hardware in every county election all over the United States, or just certain ones? The bigger counties, like in Arizona, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, California. But also, who helped him? Who helped him in the United States in those counties? I mean, Georgia's now out in the news, you know. We haven't heard too much in the last week, but we know that two Georgia senators, there's like, now, are they really the ones that won the election? What if, you know, there's all of this what if going on. Did Maduro give names to the CIA, to the FBI, to all the agencies? I bet you. I bet you. See, there's so much that you can read into this, and I think we should be. I think, you know, the mainstream media is not giving us truth, and they're not giving us information, but we can put things together just based on what Trump puts in his Truth Social. The next point that President Trump made was the CCP influencing the results of the 2019-2020 timeframe, and that they had a strategy. That part of the strategy was with U.S. companies, where they would to turn them against the U.S. president, and that was the CCP's one of their tactics. They also paid particular journalists large sums of money to write negative articles on the US president, or which he's referring to himself in that regard, wanting him to lose the election, because the CCP knows that he knows about them and he knows what they're doing. So this has to do with foreign and domestic elements opposing the US president or the person running for that. He also states that that our voter registrations, that we're vulnerable to adversaries such as Russia, North Korea, and China. And when I refer to those countries, I'm referring to the corrupted group within those countries. You know, we throw those names out like China, but President Xi is not necessarily a part of the CCP. And the people of China are not necessarily connected to the CCP. It's the corrupted groups within every country, even Russia. Now, I don't know if this Putin is, here again, guys, people are not always what we think they are at this point. I think there's been a lot of people over the last 6 to 10 years that we just don't know the details, the extremes of what has happened, whether these are the real people or not. And we have so much CGI, images. It's just we just have to keep moving on. I'm not going to try to convince anybody. I just know what I think. Anyway, so these journalists that's been paid, this could mean mainstream media networks, that they could be paid also from the CCP. And a lot of these major networks may be working for them. I mean, the CCP may be part of the controlling group. I don't think that they're the head of the snake, but they could be high up, like right around the neck area. So he's also saying from January 2020 through June 2024, that time frame, Trump is designating that time frame, and said that the FBI during that time frame was running a shadow government to keep what the CCP was doing away from us, the people. And there was a name of a person under review, and he didn't disclose the name of the person, obviously, but that's being That's being decided, that's being investigated. That is a order. This whole speech was about getting information to the people, to all of us, on all of these list of things. And then he's instructed his administration to take charge now. I mean, there's like, investigate it, fire the people, and if needed, if it looks like criminal activity, then file charges. This is what we've been waiting for. You can't just start arresting people without going through the law. Okay, the other key point was that he talked about the CCP did an acquisition in 2020 of 220 million voter files data, which is our data. Okay, 220 million voter files is like all, I mean, this could be like all of the United States voter files. The CCP acquired them, all of our information. Was a large-scale cover-up in Michigan in 2020. People received gift cards. So in Michigan, you had large-scale amounts of people registering, and they were illegal registrations in Michigan 2020, which is one of the swing states. He mentioned that. The deep state in our intelligence agency. Okay, so he's given us clues. He's given us terms. The deep state, which mainstream media's, I mean, I've listened to them, like personally listened to CNN or one of them last week. Well, the deep state, you know, that's a conspiracy theory. There's no deep state. Well, they are a part of the deep state. They are working for and have been taking bribes, obviously. I mean, you know, until it's been actually prosecuted, this would be my opinion. The deep state in our intelligence agency covered up tens of millions of voter information in 18 states and did not inform Congress of this fraud. It was a security breach. So that's a big deal. So they're going to be investigating that. These are all orders for his DOJ and whatever other agency needs to be working with them, because we're hoping that we're hoping Kash Patel's a good guy, a white hat. Let's see. Another point he made was the CCP manufactured illegal ballots for 2020 for Mr. Biden. So the whole illegal ballots, the whole buttload of ballots that was dropped in all of these different counties, your large swing state counties. And why did we have millions and millions of ballots? Ballots that could just be mailed in. And so all the postal service had cases and cases of ballots delivering to election sites. Did you watch the videos of all the ballots being dropped in the mailboxes on street corners? And why did we even do that? Why was all of these thousands and thousands of ballots being mailed in? Do you remember in 2020? I think it had something to do with the whole COVID thing, like that could be my opinion. I would put that together as my opinion. That initiated the need for mail-in ballots because we never did that before. CCP obviously made up the ballots that were already voting for Mr. Biden and dumped them in at whatever, 3 a.m. that next morning when everything changed. And people was watching mainstream media and they saw Trump ahead with points. And then at 3 a.m., everything just shifted. And people were actually watching those flip-up charts on the mainstream media shift over. And all of a sudden now Mr. Biden was ahead. There's so much. There's so much, and it's all been recorded. Don't think for a minute. I mean, I think the military overseeing the 2020 thing, I think they got all the evidence on everything. It wouldn't surprise me if the whole thing wasn't a sting operation. And they just put it out there to see what would happen, see how they did it, just have it all recorded so that we at some point will have it, be able to watch it. I think we're going to be watching this stuff at some point. It's just like the January 6th stuff. Guys, a bunch of us have seen the videos. It's totally different than the mainstream media videos. They weren't climbing up the wall and not I mean, well, another video. But that's why we did the whole mail-in ballot. That's the reason why Mr. Fauci is going to be in deep. I mean, he's not going to survive this. My opinion, he's not physically going to survive this. By the time, not only is he committed treason, my opinion, for launching that virus thing to initiate the mail-in ballot process, but just the whole line about the medication, the hospitals. Oh my gosh, we haven't even got to that part, which we will be. I believe this election fraud is the big first thing to go down. And then from there, we're going to be tackling every other major fraudulent, corrupted attack against our nation and all other countries. That's a global issue. It's all a global issue. So Trump has said, fire people, file charges. And then he, talks a little bit about the burn bags that were found and how this is Barack Hussein Obama that ordered the burn bags to be done away with. What information was in there and who did it and how is it that we found them? Now, I did listen to Kash Patel. He was on some channel or some podcaster show, and he just said they were in a room and the room wasn't on their map when he started in with the FBI. This map showed, I guess, the layout of everything, and this room wasn't on there. But somehow they discovered the room, and they didn't have a key to it. So I'm not sure. I didn't hear the part where how they got in, but they discovered the burn bags. So obviously there's a white hat that was involved in that process of getting rid of the burn bags, and my opinion, obviously they found a room, they found a place that nobody knew about or would never check, and they put all the stuff in there. And so they were infiltrated into the corrupted people to help all of the white hats find these at some point. So I think that was all collaborated. I mean, I just don't think there's coincidences on stuff like this. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is too big of this is why I believe it's a military operation and it's global, because it's just too much big stuff, too much way out there big stuff. And we've got it's not just one thing. It's not just election fraud in the United States, it's every other country that they controlled the leaders of who got in and who didn't. It's all of our states. It's the majority of the states, but we don't know. Here's 18 states that they said covered up tens of millions of voter information. Well, we don't know how far some of this reached. All right, I'm winding up. I'm winding up. President Trump also stated that there will not be corrupted mail-in ballots for this midterm. My opinion is COVID's what initiated that in 2020. So now what? And will the deep state or the bad people try another something to shut us down? Will they try something in the next, like any time now? Will something come out to try to shut us down? And of course, mail-in ballots should be used in case of people that might have an illness, disability. They're going on vacation during election week, or military. Those are the only exceptions. I mean, those are the only reasons to do a mail-in ballot. You don't need millions of people locked down in their homes mailing in ballots. And of course, it wasn't those real people. It was all of these immigrants that were voting, and the illegal, let me state that, illegal immigrants that were voting, but also just people being paid off to fill out a bunch of voter registrations. So, I mean, you just got a combination of stuff. But, this is one of the reasons why I believe that's connected to Space Force. Because once again, President Trump said, I created Space Force in his first term. And Space Force, guys, has nothing to do with space. It's technology. And I believe the whole Q movement, the whole thing with the postings, I think they're connected in there with Space Force. Because I'm pretty convinced that President Trump is a part. I think he's Q plus plus plus. There's indication, and most of us, that's what we, he's probably wrote some of these Q posts. But I think that there's a team of people that were involved in this. There, Trump has talked before about certain military generals, not the TV generals, but the real generals. See, we've got TV people and we've got real people. We have TV people in mainstream media saying all kinds of stuff, talking propaganda, giving their opinions. And then you've got real reporters. And everybody's trying to act like their reporting is the truth. We really don't know what truth is. What else do I want to say about this? Okay, so then he winds up, President Trump winds up and says, where is that about the states? Okay. He says, my administration will notify governors, senators, and Congress of the states. So now we're down here in the state level. All of our states, the governors, the senators, and Congress of the election compromise. We're going to notify them of the election compromise. This is going to be 2020, probably 2022, by the CCP and many others. See, now you see what he does? He throws in this. It's not just the CCP that interfered in the 2020 election, but many others. These are other countries. This would be the CCP of China. This would be the bad people of Russia, their group. Maybe North Korea, the bad people there. I've heard Italy. Back during 2020, 2021, Italy got brought up. And Venezuela probably was involved as well. This is why Maduro probably has it all on everybody, guys. And he's talked. We're going to probably hear him testify before this is over. Anyway, Trump's administrative team is notifying the states' leaders of this compromise by the CCP and many others, and to mitigate any harm, to fix the technical hacks for midterms. So, and to remove all non-citizens and dead people. So he's instructing the DHS, Homeland Security, which is the Mullins guy, I think, which that's who I'm going to do next on the video, is that Mullins from DHS. He did a speech the next day, which had been July 17th. It was awesome, and I'm going to outline it for you real quickly in the next video. But he's saying, he's given the order, he's going to give the orders to the governors of every state and say, remove all non-citizens from your election rolls, from your voter registrations, and your dead people from the voter roll. Remove those categories of people before midterms. And to fix the technical abilities in the machines for hacking. Now, I don't know what all is going to be involved in that, but anybody who's got Dominion machines, and there could be other machines tied into that, there's something in their machines that's creating the ability. Well, why wouldn't they? Why do you think you've got to be connected to their Wi-Fi? I mean, I worked in the election. I think I was working there in the 2021 before I kind of disconnected from the central committee in my county, due to the infighting. Yes, there's it's rising up, but that's another video. They've got to fix the machines somehow. They've got to. I don't know. Something's embedded in the hardware, and something's in the software, the Smartmatic stuff, and so we'll see how that shakes out. He's gave the order. So now all of this is happening. That's it. File charges. They're going to prosecute him. So this could be a lot of people. They're probably going to start with swing states. You're probably going to have people's names come up that we've heard a long time ago, like Kemp and Raffensperger in Georgia. There's the governor of Arizona. There's Michigan, Wisconsin. I'm probably missing one. This will be interesting to see, but that's a little bit on. I believe that this is the start. And because President Trump has given this as a prime time spot on the television, we've got it out there. It's been spoken out there. He's made us all aware. Whether you watch it or not, you need to watch it. The fact that ABC and NBC did not air it puts them in a lot of trouble. So we'll see how that goes. We are in it. So that's all for this video, and be sure and subscribe, follow on YouTube or Rumble, and hit the notifications so you can get these videos as they come out.